Guys, welcome to another episode of Monster Talks. Today, my guest is Alejandro Maldonado. Alejandro is an entrepreneur, and today he's going to share a lot of tips with us and a lot of great information in the contracting world. He also has a wealth of information of the how to manage gas stations, how to build gas stations from ground up. So I'm really excited about having Alejandro. What's up, Alejandro? How's it going, brother?
What's up, Raul? Thanks for inviting me. It's an honor to be here. I look forward to having a great conversation, like you said. It's been 12 years in the process, in the making. So I really look forward to sharing my story, sharing information, because I think that's key nowadays, right?
Yep.
Is information.
Yep.
I think that's what self-limiting now for many individuals is not having access to the right information. So that's what I've been working on. Aside from building the business, is building myself, my knowledge, my brain, and I hope to share as much as I can with the viewers. And from the entrepreneur to the dad, to the husband, to the everyday 9 to 5, I hope to share something that can touch them in a way that helps them in a positive way.
For sure, man. That's one of the things I think you and I vibed with early on. I think we share very similar stories. We're both fathers. We're very active in our kids' lives. And in addition to that, we're entrepreneurs and we're running very busy businesses, right?
Yes.
And so we're grinding. And both you and I also somehow throughout that day, we find a way how to fit working out in there, right?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit, how did you get your start? Like what was like this whole birth of you wanting to run a business or getting into this world of entrepreneurship?
You know, it's funny. Just last week, actually, my barber, who I get to share a lot of nuggets with him too, but asked me the same question. And I told him, I said, I was raised by a single mother, very, very hardworking. I mean, I can consider her my hero. You know, I look up to her just about every day. She wakes up, she doesn't complain. And I mean, she's in her late 50s, you know, so she's a go-getter. But I knew at a very young age, because I saw who she was, that I didn't want to go to college. I was probably about 13 when I realized that. I was like, I'm not very good at school. And it's not because I'm not smart, it's just I'm very lazy. But I'm lazy with things that don't interest me. So school really didn't interest me. But I knew that I had to make money. I knew that I had to make a living because I saw my mom do that every single day. You know, she would wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, fix breakfast for us. I come from, 3 brothers. I'm the middle one. So she would fix breakfast for everybody. And then we would all have to walk to school. By the time we would wake up, she wasn't home. She would work at a fabrica, sewing clothes. So I knew I had to make money, but I knew there was other ways to make money. And I knew it wasn't going to be school. So I said, I'm going to start paying attention to what people that don't go to school or that don't hold a regular 9 to 5 do, right? Which is they run a business.
Yeah.
Now, then came the time to choose what kind of business. That then, we get way more into it. I don't want to get sidetracked, but that's really how it happened for me. You know, I just knew I didn't want to go to school. I knew I wasn't dumb. I was just lazy when I was involved in things that didn't interest me. So I knew I was going to find something that interested me, something I was passionate about, and I was going to get after it. I was going to go to work. So that's kind of how it happened to me. That's kind of how I got into it.
And how did you guys start going into, first, obviously, starting off with gas stations? Share a little bit about the whole experience with the gas station, because I know this was something that was an idea birthed from your mom, or was this something that you guys, maybe a family member got you involved, or how did you guys get involved in that world?
No, so it's funny how this is actually something that excites me when I talk about this, because it was actually my mom. So 2011, I'm working out of town. I come from the railroad industry, transportation. My youngest brother's still in school. I think he was in 6th grade at the time, 7th grade. And my older brother, who was a banker at the time, has been in banking forever. We're kind of just we weren't struggling, but my mom knew that we were not doing what we wanted to do, right? And my mom, in my younger days, she was an entrepreneur then. You know, I'm gonna say back in her 40s, she used to have a tables and chairs and jumping balloon rental business. So that was the side hustle on the weekends.
Yeah.
We would, I still remember, man. We would wake up Saturday morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. Either Los Bukis was going off or Marc Anthony was going. Somebody was going off. We knew it was time. That was the alarm clock.
Yeah.
It was time to go to work. And yeah, man, she would wake us up. Hey, man, this is the schedule for today. We have 3 parties. We're dropping off so many tables, so many chairs, jumping balloons. And that would take us through like noon. And then that was our pass to be able to go out on the weekend, you know. So Sunday came around. We would party Saturday night, Sunday, same thing. Now we have to go pick up everything. And she would literally run her business off of a journal. You know, she would write everything down, the calendar, all the parties, all the events, all that, and she would keep inventory on her journal too. So fast forward to where I was, 2011, I remember she called a family meeting and she's like, I'm going to make mole. And because we love mole, so I'm gonna make mole and nachos and stuff. And
Mole's the bomb, right?
it's a bomb, man. It's a bomb. So she's like, I want you guys to come to the house, and I have a business to pitch to you guys. And I was like, okay, let's see what my mom came up with now. And I really wasn't. I'm not gonna tell you. I'm not gonna lie and say I was excited. I wasn't, because I'm like, well, what could she really come up with that is gonna excite me, or I can say, yeah. I mean, we had no money. You know, I mean, our bank of knowledge wasn't that big. My mom worked in O'Reilly's for like 15 years. But we show up, same as usual. She pulls up her journal, right? And she starts pitching her business plan. So there's this convenience store right around the street from where we grew up that was for rent. But the gasoline in itself was out. It was just going to be the convenience store inside. So she's like, I have this idea. I think she had like $7,000, and this was her income tax. I have $7,000. I already spoke to these providers. I want to open up that convenience store that's been closed for years.
Yeah.
So I'm like, Mom, you know what? We've always had your back. I didn't think it was going to work, right? This is probably the first time she's going to hear this. But I didn't think it was going to work, but we said, we got your back. Let's go. Let's do this. This happened on a Thursday. We made the decision on the dinner table. Friday, we're calling the landlord to tell him, hey, we want to move forward with renting this property from you. And mind you, as I'm talking to the landlord, I'm driving down Socorro Road. And he tells me, you know what? You're a day late. There's this Christian church that just rented out the place. So I'm like, oh, how am I going to tell my mom, right? So I hung up. I call my brother, and as the phone was ringing, I pull into what I didn't know at the time was a gas station that was for rent. My mind was somewhere else, so I just pulled in to the first place that I saw. I pull in, and my brother picks up, and he's like, hey, ¿qué pasó, carnal? No, man, bad news. They rented that space. So how are we going to tell my mom? You know, I know she's going to be upset. And as we're having this conversation, I look at the sign that says for rent, right? And then I start looking around, and it's like, damn, this is a full-blown gas station for rent. Shit you not, that's how it happened. But I tell him, I said, but guess what? I'm parked right outside of a gas station that's for rent. No. He's like, no, that's too much. We know nothing about this. My mom, you know, our plan was a convenience store, you know, 1,200 square foot max. That's, you know, and I said, bro, it's go big or go home, you know. That's how my mom raised us. That's how we're going to do this. Well, he said, well, fine, but you're going to pitch her. Fine. I called her. It was like a 5-minute conversation. She was in. And it's been a ride, but that's how it started, man.
Wow.
A no went to a yes, to something big that we never thought we could achieve.
Yeah.
I called the landlord. We drew up the contract. It took us about 3 months to remodel, get accepted by Exxon, who branded us at the time. And 2000, where was it? January 2012. We opened up the doors to our first convenience store and our first business, actual full-blown brick and mortar business.
And how was that experience? Like that first couple of months, first years?
Man, so we thought we were gonna be rich overnight.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I was still working in Monahans at the time, and I remember I was excited. When we opened our doors, I even took like a week off because I'm like, shit, I might not even go back. I might not have to go back. We're about to be rich.
Yeah.
We just opened this damn convenience store.
Yeah.
Not at all. Not at all what happened. So it took us about 3 months to realize that. I think for like the first year, our sales averaged about $300 a day. Mm-hmm. We lived there. My mom quit her job. She went without a paycheck for like the first 6 months. She survived off of chips, ramen noodles that we had there, her income tax, whatever was left. We had some money left over because I pulled a personal loan from Wells Fargo. My brother pulled a personal loan. She pulled a personal loan. We maxed out all the credit cards that we had. I mean, we just came up, I think, just shy of like $80,000 is what we had. But it went quick, So it was very rough. Not only because we weren't making any money, but because we didn't really understand the business. That store had been ran down. It opened back in like 2006, and it closed and opened it went through like 5 different owners. And they would all open up, run it for like 3 months, and then shut down. And then here comes the next one, run it for another 6 months, shut down. So when we came in, we're the 6th one, they're like, shit, these guys are not gonna, they already saw the trend, right? They're like, there's no way they're gonna make it. So I think the first year we lost about $25,000. The second year we cut it down to like 10 or so. And then midway through the second year, we were able to start hiring some employees to help us out. Because mind you, at this time, my life was go work 5 days out of town. My 2 days off, I would come in, run the store, just so my mom could get some time off. And then, so it was basically my mom and my brother running it full time. My mom would be there from open to 7 p.m. And then my brother would get out of work and then come run the store from 7 to close.
Wow.
And then whenever I was here, I wanted to give them a break. So I would basically work from open to close for 2 days and then drive back.
Wow.
So this was like, a year and a half of doing this over and over again. And now that I think about it, I'm like, why the hell didn't we give up?
Yeah.
It was tough.
That was what I was about to ask is like, how important do you think it is to be persistent when starting? Because when I look back at my life and I think about, this journey that I've been on, entrepreneurship, I'm like, shit, man, we've been through some ups and downs, like, I don't know if I'd be able to go through this again,
right?
Right? And then there you are right back again,
right.
doing it and signing yourself up for it. How important is that to somebody who wants to start their own business? Somebody that's watching this that wants to start their own business. What would be your advice? From somebody who started a business, was making negative 25 grand your first year. What would you say to them?
I think there's a few things that they need to realize, and they're not even so complex. It's really understanding that it's gonna be hard. Whoever says you're gonna get rich overnight, if it's too good to be true, it's gonna be hard.
Yeah.
It's almost gonna be impossible. You're probably gonna quit, right? So staying persistent, understanding that you just have to go for one more day, and one more day will turn into probably 2 years, and then you'll get out of the rough patch, is very important. Because what I will tell you is, for us, for example, like you said, if we were to lose everything that we've built,
Yeah.
Whatever you've built with, with MonsterLink, today, we wouldn't start back in square one anyway, right? Because we endured 2 years of hardship, 2 years of learning, 2 years of meeting people, 2 years of networking.
Yeah.
That you're really, all that has way more value than however many customers you might have right now, or however much cash flow we might have, or revenue right now we might have, is what we have up here, right? So not quitting will give you all that, right? So even if you were to fail on your first try or your first at bat, the second time you come to bat, you're going to be way more advanced. You're going to be armed, and it's a lot of people talk about this. There's many millionaires that talk about, if I were to lose everything that I have right now, I could be rich in 90 days again because of what I know now, right?
Absolutely.
So that's kind of the way I see it now.
Is that what you think gives us entrepreneurs a little bit more balls, or just to be very bold with our moves? Because sometimes we jump, right? I just made a decision today where, I'm committing to more money than I'm spending to. Again, you jump, right? And you built the parachute on your way down. Do you think it comes from those experiences where you just feel like, well, if we fall, like I feel like always, if ever things don't work out here, I'm going to go great anywhere, right?
I feel, so I'm an athlete, and I've been an athlete all my life. I love playing baseball. So I always look at business like baseball. Any new decision I'm going to make, I look at it like baseball. So for example, and I know you too, because I've seen your Valenzuela shirt. I remember the first time I was used to just looking at a fastball, fastball. So I became very good at hitting a fastball. Now the first day, and I think I was 13 or 14 at the time, I saw my first curveball. It did, I understood why they call it a cumbia, because it made you dance for a little.
Yeah.
What the hell was that? So it made me really uncomfortable, because it didn't only surprise me, but it did mess with my ego a little bit, because I was a very good hitter. And then now I'm struggling hitting this damn curveball. But the more I went up to bat, the more sure I started feeling about myself. Like, I know they're going to throw me a curveball because they know I can't hit the damn ball, So same happens in business when you make a decision, right? It's new. You see it for the first time.
Yeah.
It's going to scare you a little bit.
Yeah.
You might say, like, I don't know. But the more you take those decisions, and then you're able to surpass, you make it, it just gives you the world or it makes you feel like you're unstoppable, really, because now who knows what can stop you? Yeah. Well, I really want to find out. So in order for you to find out, you have to keep making those decisions. Yeah. And then the more you keep not failing, it's like, fuck, well, I guess I'm never going to fail. So might as well keep going, might as well keep stepping off the ledge and building your parachute, like you said, as you come down. So that's kind of the way it happens for me. I was very scared at the beginning of making decisions, taking chances, but I started to figure out, like, well, first of all, if you go into it with the mindset of, I'm not going to fail, I'm going to burn the boats, I'm going to blend in, and I'm prepare for the variables. Those three things right there, I feel, have helped me change the way I think about making a decision. First, you burn the boats, right? I make the decision, fuck it. Everything else is behind me. I'm going to burn the boats. 2 is you learn how to blend in, right? Now you're in the situation. Now you want to show people that I can do this, right? I'm here with you. Yeah. And then 3, there's going to be ups and downs, which are the variables. Prepare for the variables. Know they're going to exist, and prepare as much as you can so that at the end, you have the product of breaking through, and pushing through and being successful at whatever decision you make.
And how do you manage those highs and lows? Because I know that's a big thing that we don't talk a lot about in the entrepreneur world. How do you manage those ups and downs? I know all of us, like I have my certain support system that, I can go home and bitch to somebody, or, just let off a little bit of steam by working out or things like that. how do you manage those ups and downs? Because we go through them, right? I know you and I have had those conversations, and one day you feel like you're on top of the world, right? And you feel like you're a genius and you got it all together. And then the next thing you're just like scratching your head thinking like, man, do I really want to do this?
Yeah. Well, I think it all boils down to your habits, right? You got to have good habits because motivation is something that's going to come and go. If you only did things when you felt motivated, then you would be having a very hard life because and this is my personal experience. Out of the 7 days of the week that I wake up, there's probably 4 to 5 days where I wake up very unmotivated. I don't want to do it. The gym is a perfect example. I wake up every day, 4 o'clock in the morning, and there's one thing that I do different that I think a lot of people don't even know. You can turn off the snooze button on your alarm. I turn mine off. So I know the moment I wake up, I can't hit the snooze button. You hit the snooze button, you're done. You're gonna go back to bed. So that's one of the habits that helps me. And so then invested in yourself. You know, they say, and you probably heard this been said a lot, but you are the average of the 5 people you hang around with.
Yep.
But what a lot of people don't tell you is that it doesn't necessarily mean that it's who your circle of influence has to be physical, right? That you have to hang out with these people.
Yeah.
That also means what podcasts do you listen to? You know, you like, I don't know, Grant Cardone if you're in real estate. You like Jim Brown, whoever you like. If you're in personal development, hang out with that guy. Listen to his podcast.
Yeah.
Right? Read books. That's another way to hang out with the big dogs. Consume some content. So that's kind of how I manage to get through the highs and lows, is by hanging around the people and holding on to them, their mindset, their brain, their knowledge, and it really helps because at first, you know, when I heard that, you know, you're the average of the 5 people you hang out with, I thought I gotta go look for new friends.
Yeah.
Because my friend over here is a drunkie. My friend over here is broke. My other friend over here, you know, likes to eat junk food. So I was very lost, you know. I was like, well, fuck, man, how do you find new friends? But it's not that. You can also get around people by reading books, listening to podcasts, consuming the right content, because it's inevitable. Everybody consumes content. So that's kind of the way I do it. That's kind of the way I
No, that's really good advice. I think people lose that or miss that, you know, more technology today, your phone, what you watch, you know, like you said, these people are your friends. You know, Les Brown is my friend. He doesn't know it, but I know it. Right? I hang out with him all the time, right? I'm always listening and consuming his content, right? So this is what's beautiful today, and this is what people need to leverage these things. I think that's a gem that you shared with people today, because sometimes people think that, well, shit, man, I've got to replace my friends. I can't hang around with Joe anymore, or you know, whatever it is. But that's not necessarily what that means. That just means that you have the power to also go and influence yourself by what you're listening to and what you're consuming.
For sure.
Which includes movies. It includes the time that you spend alone, right? So I just try to fill it more with positive things, or with people that are sharing with you constructive stuff, or stuff that's going to build you up, rather than just always hanging around negative type stuff, you know. And you have the power to control that.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be by being out at a party with your buddies and saying, oh, guys, now I can't hang out. I'm going to go hang out with those guys over there.
Yeah.
Because they're a lot better put together than you guys.
Yeah, and that's very important. I'm glad you touched on that, because I did get into a phase in my life where, when I was trying to change myself and consume all this content and read, I'm not going to lie and tell you that I thought that's what I also had to do. You know, push the people away and say, no, I'm not going to hang around with you anymore. You're not a good influence for me. But that's not true, because I also heard something that was very powerful that says, sometimes you're called to come to this world to become something for someone that they can't be for you, right? So I had to listen to it a few times to really understand what that means. And that means that there's certain individuals who are never going to strive for that. You know, and they're around you. It might be your brothers. Yeah. It might be your wife, your kids, you know, your mother, your father. You're not just going to push them away. Yeah. You know, you have to become that person for them. and you have to become that person that they can rely on, and they can call you, and they can ask for some advice. So then that was another stage for me where I was like, well, shit, I need to kind of rethink who I'm becoming, and not just cut them off.
It's all right.
So don't. So but it's true. It can happen to someone who's trying to change. You might start cutting people off in a very demeaning way, like, no, fucker, I can't hang around with you no more. But that's not true. You also have to be you still have to be humble enough to understand that, and some people will rely on you. And
I think this is where the passion, where I think you and I connect on, and we've had this conversation about helping those around us, right? And the impact of things like this that we do, so that we can touch other people and share some of that, right? Because we're excited about the things we're working on, but we also have a duty to try to help and have an impact on other people. And I think this is what we have talked about that impacts Latinos, right? That we tend to not want to lean on each other for help, that we're very prideful in our strive, right? But this is not something to put somebody down, but maybe to help to bring them up, and so I think this is a good thing, that we have to work together. We have to share this kind of information. We have to share the habits. We have to share the affirmations that get us to where we're at, because it's all a process, right? It's dedication. It's also being consistent, and that gets us to where we need to get to, right? Also too, because I believe, like I always say the story on the podcast about an old boss of mine that one time told me, Raul, if you want to save the world, you got to first save yourself, right? And it hit me hard, and I still think about it a lot, because it is true. The moment that I started working backwards like that, and I started taking care of myself, then I was able to have an impact on those around me, my family, my mom, my brothers, everybody around me, because they're saying what I'm doing, and that starts to wake them up, and it starts to have an impact. But I couldn't do it just by lecturing them and telling them something without me doing it myself, right? So you have to be the example, and you have to lead by example. So one of the things that really intrigues me about your story is the ability to work with your family, man, because that's kind of like everybody that we've had on the podcast, as you hear, they have a lot of struggles when it comes to family, and the family buying into what they're doing with their business. How were you guys? I know it ties back to your loyalty to your mom, and I can tell you, because I was risen by my mom. Me and my three brothers, we have the same situation as you guys. Three brothers, single mom. We're very loyal to my mom because of her hard work and her dedication. We respect that. She's the leader of our family, has helped us to get through a lot of things. How do you guys make it work, man? Because I know I've asked you this multiple times, right?
It really is an art, and I think it also goes back to what's unique. I think we always tend to look and identify a lot of the negative in the Latino culture. But we also have things that are very neat. And one of them is being very family oriented. So because my mom raised us that way, to be, faithful to each other, look out for one another, that transitioned to business. Has it been easy? No. And I'll share a very intimate story with you guys. My older brother, he was an alcoholic for 3 years. He became an alcoholic right when we started the first business. So I would talk to him over and over again, and I would tell him, look, Oscar, you need to stop, man. Like, you have 2 kids. We just started this business. You can't be drinking like this. I know it's tough. I know, you're going through some stress, but we're all in it together. You need to stop. It went on, and sure, he would show up to work, but he was drunk, and long story short, it got to the point where I stopped talking to him. Me and him didn't talk for about a year.
Wow. And
my mom would suffer. She was suffering because we just launched the business. We were all excited about it, and we just thought it was the best thing that could have ever happened to us. Because we had a pretty rough life. From moving into the house that was built out in San Elizario, we had no power. The freaking neighbors would give us electricity, and we were hooked up. We were tapped into their water and shit to now having the first family business. So she really didn't understand what was happening. I didn't understand what was happening, you know. But what turned it around, his daughter was born. His daughter was born, and we went back to the basics. We went back to what we were taught as kids, is family. And that's, I think, what got him, you know, subconsciously, that's what got him. Like,
Yeah.
my daughter, and my mom had been wanting a daughter, you know, when she was having us for so long.
Same in our family. My older brother's name was Vanessa, so we call him Vanessa. All the
My
time.
name was Alejandra, and then I ended up being Alejandro. But she was born, and it was just like, boom, man, 360, right? So we're back to the basics. Now we're talking again, and I think what hurt him the most is I didn't go to her baptism, because she was baptized. Even though after she was born, we still weren't. The relationship was very, very rocky.
Yeah.
But then my mom had a conversation with me, and she told me, she's like, he's changing. He's done drinking. I need you to come around. We need you. I said, okay. So that experience right there brought us even more together.
Yep.
And now I can freaking like almost punch him in the face. Because it's going to happen too, right? In business, you have business partners, because at the end of the day, that's what we are. We're business partners.
Yeah.
There's days we've been on a job site and we're ready to throw it down, you know?
Yeah.
But we will wake up the next day and we'll talk to each other.
Yeah.
And we'll say, you know what? Whatever happened yesterday happened. Today's a new day.
Yeah.
Let's show some grace and let's go to work. So it's been a process, and many people, believe it or not, are very intrigued about it. They're like, how can you work with your damn family?
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I've tried it over and over. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
But there's key things that I think, and I'm fortunate, you know, that happened to us. At the time, I didn't see him as me being fortunate.
Yeah.
I was very upset and ungrateful, because I'm like, he's my older brother. I look up to him. Why is he like this? He should be, you know, an example.
Yeah.
But now it's like, that's why we're here.
Yeah.
You know? So sometimes you don't understand why shit happens until some of the light starts to shed.
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't
For
understand
sure.
why it
Definitely, right?
Yeah.
You have to go through those struggles, and some of those struggles come back to be blessings. And that's how we grow, man.
happened. Yep.
And you look back at them and say, you know, they're good.
Yep.
You know, I try to explain this to my son. I was having a conversation with my son last week, and I was explaining to him how you get over stuff by forgiving people and take responsibility and ownership for everything that happens to you. And he said, well, how can you do that, Dad? Like, if somebody hurt you or did something bad, I think they should be responsible. I'm like, yeah, but you're drinking that poison. And it takes a certain level of maturity to get there. But when you get there, you're choosing to be happy, right?
Right.
So I think that's important in relationships. And I agree with you. You know, I would love to work with my family. You know, my nephew Josh is here. And so I'm really happy to have family back here, because I prefer that. Though my brother thinks the opposite. One of my brothers thinks the opposite. He says it just can't work with family, man. It's not going to work. But I believe in us helping each other, because the power is in the numbers. Mm-hmm. These guys are my family, you know, these guys here with the company. That's how it is, because we're helping each other. We're all on that same mission.
Yeah.
We're all growing, you know.
I
And
agree.
That's how we take it to the next level, because the power is in us working together. Right?
I agree. And, you know, I think since I already gave something that's reinforcing about our community, something that I feel that is very limiting in our community, even though I just talked about it, is the way we're raised of, right, being very knit, we're tight knit. So we're always taught to, you know, he's your father, he's your mother, he's your brother, and you guys are family. But I also need to make a point that that's not true. You know, you just said they're your family, right? Because the fact that, you know, I have a brother, I have a sister, I have my mother, that doesn't automatically make us family.
Yeah.
That makes us related.
Yeah.
We're related to one another. But sometimes you will find, or most of the time you will find, family outside your family, which is an example of us too. You know, the people that work in our company, they're our family, you know. So it's just very important that we understand that sometimes can be self-limiting too, right? Is being stuck on the fact that because he's my brother, I have to work with him.
Yeah.
Or because he's my nephew, I have to work with him. Sometimes it's not going to work out.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes you have to let go. I think we're blessed. I think I'm blessed that I'm able to work with my brother, you know, and my mother.
And with your mom. Yeah, right.
My mother.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think I'm blessed, but if it were to ever get to the point where I know I can't, then I would, you know, because I also understand that sometimes it really it's not going to work.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's just the way I see it too.
Well, that's good stuff, man. I give you a lot of kudos for that and a lot of props for you and your family making it work. I think more Latino families need to do that. If you look at other cultures, that's what makes them so successful, man, is that they bond together, they work together, and they bring each other up. And I think it's a much more powerful thing, you know, when we work together. So that's all good stuff. So tell me a little bit about NGI and how that came about, because that's your new project that you guys have started to work on. I think it's great what you guys are working on. I've been out on the field with you guys. I think you guys are kicking butt out there, doing great work. How did that whole thing come about? And what is NGI, first of all, if you want to share with everyone?
So NGI stands for Next Generation Imaging. And that company was founded in 2017 alongside our second gas station. We landed a very good contract with the local refinery, Marathon. At the time, it was Western Refinery. There you go.
Yeah.
So at the time, there was not many companies that would do what's called petroleum imaging. So what that means is you take, you know, let's say a Shell gas station, and you turn it into a Chevron, right? From the signage to all the lighting to the fascia to the pumps, everything. You know, you give it a new face, basically a new facelift. And the only company that we found had to be from Juarez. So it was a horrible experience. It was the first time that they had ever, these like the refinery, they'll give you a bonus to sign a contract with them. But that bonus includes you also handling the project of re-imaging your gas station, right? So we ended up hiring this company from Juarez who was registered in El Paso, but most of the work was being done in Juarez. And we ended up hiring them because what are we taught in the Latino community is, you know, bueno, bonito y barato.
Yeah.
You know, that go with the cheapest guy.
Yeah.
So sure shit, you know, he was the cheapest guy, and he told us quality is not going to be affected. You know, give us a good pitch. So shit, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
He ended up not using the proper materials. The specs were not there. The lighting was not. I mean, it was just a horrible job. And our rep from the refinery, when he did the walkthrough, he obviously failed us. Right? He said, "I don't know how you guys are gonna fix this, but it needs to be fixed. This is not at all close to what we sent you guys in the specs." So after 2 days of trying to get someone else to do it for us, we said, you know what? The hell with it. From the age of 12, me and my brother, he was, 14? Yeah, 16. We were working construction with my stepfather. So we know how to use our hands, you know, so we're going to do it. We'll order the stuff from the company in Fort Worth, and we'll take care of it. We'll handle the installation. And that's what we did. We installed everything. We had no idea how we were going to do it. But we figured it out. We got it installed. We called in for inspection. We passed. And then the rep is saying to us, who got this done for you guys? Well, we know some people, you know, that got it done. And he's like, no, really, who did it? It was us. You guys should do this. It looks really good. I mean, you guys, it's the first one you do. You guys passed. And then we were like, I mean, sure, we'll do it. The guy leaves. We thought he was blowing smoke up our ass. Not a week later, he calls us. I got 5 stores in New Mexico that need to be re-imaged.
Shit.
You're not messing around, huh? Nope. So we went. There was 4 in TRC, New Mexico, and one in Elephant Butte. Those were the first 5 sites that were re-imaged after Next Generation Imaging was founded and received this certificate of operation.
Wow.
And that's how it started for us.
Wow.
And it hasn't stopped. It keeps getting better and better, and we couldn't be more excited about this project.
And now you guys have branched out into doing other things, right, within the general contracting world?
Yeah. So, like business, again, we knew there was going to be highs and lows. We already knew this. So we started hiring more skilled labor that gave us the opportunity to expand our portfolio. And so we did. Now we're into structural, we're into concrete, precast, asphalt, plumbing, electrical. We can basically take a project from nothing and give you the keys, basically. So, and it happened rapidly for us out of nowhere. Because what we started doing is what we noticed every time we would go to a site that we were going to reimage, we knew there was other things that had to be taken care of.
Yeah.
It was not just putting lipstick on the pig type of thing. Like we said, hey man, like your lighting's out, like your canopy deck, that's something that wasn't covered. You want me to retrofit that? Yeah, we'll do that. We noticed your asphalt is a little outdated. You want us to touch on that? Yeah, let's do that. Or we were on the spot. Hey, my toilet's backing up. You want to help? Yeah, sure, we'll help you. So we're like, man, we can do way more than just this. So we figured that out. Now we started, trying to recruit and hire more people to be able to scale on that portion of the company as well. So that's fairly new to us, but it's been going great for us. And just, I think what did it for us is not running like a racehorse, with blinkers. We always, every time we're somewhere, we're always networking. We're always trying to see what problem we can fix, because that's what entrepreneurs do, right? Yeah. You fix problems for other people. You take that off their hands, and they pay you to do that. So that's kind of what got us going into the general contracting world.
And as you're in that world, what does somebody need to do to be able to get into that world? Like if somebody's out there, they're working for a company and they want, because I know this is like in our world, everybody that, like I interview so many graphic designers and stuff, like 90% of them all are gonna have their own companies, right? And I'm sure in the contracting world that happens. But if somebody is ready for that step and they're ready for the work, because it is a lot of hard work, what do they have to do?
I think understanding business is very important, because I see it all the time. It goes back to our community as well. Growing up and even now, you see a lot of people who think they're ready, and then they branch off, whether it's landscaping or it's concrete, whatever it is, but they really don't understand what it is to run a business, right? So they have the skill set. They're very good masoneries, or they're very good lawn care people, all that, but they really don't understand the basics of running a business. So I think that would be, if you're not good at it, right, is be willing to recruit and pay somebody to help. Right? So I think that's key in all aspects of whatever you're trying to do, whether it's construction or whatever it is. Really dive in and understand business. Become a student of the trade, because at the end of the day, it is a trade. That's the way I see it. So I think that's what helped us for sure, by far, and it has allowed us to scale and grow at this pace now with construction, because we understand business. We had been in business for 7 years already by the time we started Next Generation. So that was definitely a key player in us being able to scale and grow, network, find funding, understanding what to say yes to and what to say no to, is the fact that we had already been in business running a brick and mortar business. Construction is way harder, I will tell you that, but we understood the principles of running business. So that would be my biggest advice, is really learn, dissect, and understand what it is to run a business.
And how long did it take you guys to leave a full-time job or leave your careers that you guys were all
today we're what is it, today, November? It was actually, this is a year and 6 months since I left my job.
Yeah.
So it took me about 10 and a half years
Wow.
after we opened our doors.
Wow. See, that's something that a lot of the viewers miss the boat. I think when people plan out to take on their business, they miss. I think they need to hear this a little bit more, because some of us just say, "Hey, I'm just dropping everything and we're starting a business." We don't have money. We got like $10 in the bank, and we're starting a business, right?
All right.
But the reality is, and I spent almost 6 years as a marketing director for a company before I was able to go out. And I wouldn't even say that I chose to. I got fired. I got pushed out, right? So
They did you a favor.
they did me a favor. Those were one of those episodes that you were talking about that at the moment, it was tough. My son was days away from being born,
Yeah.
and I get called into an office and I get fired, you know? So at the moment, I'm just like, shit, what am I going to do? I have this business. Yeah, we're generating about $100,000 a year, but I have people I was paying, you know?
Yeah.
And everything we made went back into the company, you know? So I'm like, how am I going to fit in my salary? You know, at the time, I think I was making about $55,000 a year, something to that effect. I'm like, how am I going to fit myself into this equation? The math isn't adding up.
Right.
But I feel like when things like that happen, they force you to grow. And it's what we're talking about. You jump and you built that parachute going down. But the fact that you worked for 10 years, was this something similar with your brothers as well, too? That they also...
Yeah. So my brother, my youngest brother, he went to when he graduated high school. I think it was 2000 and shit. He's gonna kill me for this one. 2018 maybe.
Yeah.
Or yeah, 2017, 18, around that time.
Yeah.
He went to the military, and then we're still building.
Yeah.
My older brother, he was able to leave work first. He left in 2017, which is when we opened the second location.
Yeah.
And then he ran that full time. I quit, like I said, 2000 and right at COVID. So 2020, around there. Yeah, 2020 is when I quit.
Wow.
And then my brother, when he came back from the military, he basically just slid in.
Yeah.
You know, we already had something built for him. So,
Wow.
but he's having to earn it. You know, it's
Yeah.
not as like, yeah, here you go. You know, you just,
Yeah.
So he's in there too. But I will tell you this. Even though I had to work for 10 years, and it was tough for me, not because I don't like to work, but because I could never figure out why I wasn't happy working for someone else. When I started working for the railroad,
Yeah.
I thought it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me, right? It was interesting. I was doing things that not the average person does, you know, building trains, and, you know, I went from a conductor to being an engineer at a very young age. I was 23 years old when I became an engineer. I was the youngest in the company. Granted, it was a shoreline, so these are smaller companies. And then I transitioned over to the big leagues when I was 27. And then, you know, I landed a job with BNSF, who, you know, is Fortune 500 company it's owned by Berkshire Hathaway. So great company. I was there for, you know, a year. And then I was given a chance to go to management. So now I'm even thinking I'm bigger shit, you know. But I still wasn't happy. And I was like, why? Why does none of this fill me?
Yeah.
And it was because obviously I was just not employable.
How was that feeling when you got to the point of, I'm leaving this job, man? Because I know for me, it was chaos. I was stressed out. I was like, how the hell is this going to happen, right?
It was just like that. I remember the day I quit till this day. And the crazy part about it is that when I quit, we were going through a phase, which was only 2 years ago, that, you know, we were under the impression that we were pretty close to closing our doors. We were going through a very rough patch.
Yeah. I think COVID opened a lot of eyes, right, and stuff like that.
Yes. So I remember coming out of a very tough meeting, and it was with our wholesaler or distributor for gasoline. And we got into it for about a good 45 minutes. And I knew that after that conversation with them, I was going to be faced with a decision of leaving my job or not, right? So I got out of the meeting. I pulled over about 5 minutes after driving, and I called my wife. And I told her, I said, it's now or never. Either I jump now or never. My business needs me. I've been preparing for this for 10 years. I've been working on myself. I've been investing. I need to go all in.
Yeah.
And bless her heart, because she's been with me through thick and thin, man. She's been with me when we've been negative, X amount of dollars in her account, and I don't get paid till next Friday, to now we live okay, right? And she said, I'm with you. Do it. It's time. All right. Hung up, called the boss. I said, you might think I'm not going to make it, because that's what he always told me. I said, but watch me in 10 years. Hung up the phone. And never looked back ever since.
Yeah.
And it was a great feeling, because not only was I liberated, but I really got to experience what it is to work behind your passion.
Yeah.
It's second to none.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like work. You wake up every day in the morning, you say grace, and it's just like any other regular day.
Yeah.
But you're getting so much accomplished because you're in a good, not in a good mood. There's ups and downs, but it just doesn't feel like it. It's kind of hard to explain. But when you're passionate about it, you're getting after it. It just doesn't feel like work. And I would never trade this feeling for anything.
Yeah.
Not another job. It doesn't matter if it pays me $500,000, whatever. I just wouldn't change it for anything.
Yeah.
So that's another reason and another thing of waking up in the morning and being blessed, or saying grace, is the fact that I'm blessed with being able to pursue my passion.
So what are some of those things you said that you had already prepared yourself for? What are some of the things that you did to prepare yourself, like growing yourself?
Well, the first one is understanding that my health had to be in check, right? Mm-hmm. I think if you have a healthy lifestyle, healthy habits, I don't eat clean 100%. Mm-hmm. I will tell you that. I still eat my tacos, I still eat my flautas, my burgers, all that. But having at least the dedication to exercise, mm-hmm. Finding a passion in that is definitely one for me. I got to the point where I think when I was 28, I was close to 300 pounds and felt like shit. I had no energy. So then fast forward to now, at least I can get through a 12, 16-hour day and be okay. Mm-hmm. And that's a big factor, is being healthy and exercising. That allows me to be this high paced and get through the day. And then reading books for sure. You got to read.
Any of your favorites that you can share with some of the people watching?
So, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Mm-hmm. Good one. 7 Habits.
Golden. Mm-hmm.
Highly Effective People. One that I'm reading right now that I'll tell you, they did a survey on this one. Out of 10 billionaires, 7 of them read this book, Atlas Shrugged. Mm. It's a great book. I listened to it.
What's it about? So
the industrialization, it's about 12, 15 companies, mm-hmm. and it's like a novel. I'm only in the 3rd chapter, mm-hmm. but it's a novel, and it's explaining to you the ups and downs of these companies, steel companies, railroad companies, mm-hmm. And how progressive thoughts from a political standpoint at that point had a lot of effect on how the economy was doing. So they're setting up the stage basically through these first chapters to help you understand how the supply chain works, the adversities that entrepreneurs faced back in the day and they still face now in the day, and how important transportation from the railroad is in today's world. Yeah, because it was back then. It was that book takes you back to the point where railroads were at a stage in business where they were either going to make or break the industrialization part of America. So it's a great book. It's very highly recommended. I mean, I'm only 3 chapters in, but so far it's been a good book. But How to Win Friends is a very good one for sure.
Yep.
Because I was horrible with people.
I co-signed that one times too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It got me a $25,000 raise one time. So
Yeah.
a year. Yeah. But
And I think all these habits, Raul, a lot of people feel like they should only apply them if you're an entrepreneur.
yeah.
But that's not true.
Yeah.
Because I think we just have to be good human beings in general.
Yeah.
Right? That's why I said when we started this podcast is this goes for the regular 9 to 5, to the father, to the husband, to the brother, the sister,
Yeah.
the friend, because you never know who you yourself represent for someone that's next to you. So all these habits and just having these good habits, becoming a good version or the best version of yourself, doesn't just mean that it applies only if you're trying to seek entrepreneurship or starting a business.
Yeah.
It also applies to being a good human being, you know, and impacting people in a way where they're going to remember you.
Yeah.
You know, because those are some of my biggest fears. And I always tell my wife, the day I die, I know my kids will know my name. I know they will, because I'm going to impact them in a way where they're going to remember me. But what's going to matter to me the most is, will my kids' kids know who I was?
Yeah.
And the only way that's going to happen is if I made an impact so big in my family tree for them to remember me.
Yeah.
And that just doesn't come through entrepreneurship. That doesn't come just through whatever you can give them financially. It also comes through helping other people, right? And doing it without expecting something in return.
Yeah.
Because we always do something because we feel like they might be able to give me something I'm looking for. No, I don't operate that way. Right?
Yeah.
There's many people who do, but these habits I feel should apply in general.
No, this is good that you bring this up, because the podcast is not just about entrepreneurship. It's about bettering yourself, just taking things to the next level.
Yeah.
Being able to see what other people do to improve their life, and also for our community, how to improve that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think if you goes back to that same thing, in order to impact the world, you got to start with yourself, right? It starts from within, bettering yourself. Like even like reading books, man. I didn't start reading books till I was 30, but I'm hooked now, right?
Yeah.
And that had a huge impact on my life. So that's why I always tell people. And if you don't like to read, you don't like to look at a book, it gets you tired, do Audible, man.
Audible. That's what I do.
Listen. Yeah, I listen while I drive. I listen while I work out. What are some of the things that you feel separate you from other people like that? Like that you're able to do to work longer? Or what are some of the things that you can say that make you stand out and have helped you during this journey of, you know, going into taking on these businesses?
Right. It really comes down to your mindset, right? But you also have to, it's like construction, you know, building something. First, you got to start with a set of plans. Then you go to foundation. Then you go to, you know, framing, and then eventually you'll get the finished product, right? Same goes for a human being. Same goes for me.
Yeah.
So you got to learn how to build your mindset. Mine is bomb-proof because I understood one thing. And this is Patrick B. David who talks about this a lot. He says that your best day, my best day, any of these guys' best day compared to the best of the world. And he's talking about athletes. Rest in peace, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, all these guys. Our best days here will match their best day. We can perform at their level if we wanted to.
Yeah.
Right? But compare your week to their week. Compare your month to their month.
Yeah.
Your year, your decade. That's what starts to make the separation, right?
Yeah.
So understanding that allows you to embrace and build that bomb-proof mindset of I'm untouchable. Nobody's gonna touch me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wake up when I don't feel like waking up. I'm gonna read when I don't feel like reading. I'm gonna work out when I don't feel like working out. I'm gonna look at food as fuel. So if I need to eat right, I'll eat right.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna pay attention to anybody around me because you know when you are striving, you know you're gonna have the people behind you talking shit. It's inevitable, but it's blocking all that stuff out. So when I heard that, I was like, yeah, I need to change my mindset.
Yeah.
I can't allow people to get, because I was big on that. I would allow everybody to, pitch in and have put in their 2 cents, and it was really affecting me. So it's understanding that mindset is everything. Because think about this. You can teach all these guys how to work a camera. You can teach them the angles, hey, well, make sure you go slow and make sure you take from this shot. And, these are the frames per second you got to use, and always shoot in forward. You can teach them all that. That's all the skill set. I can teach you how to make a soup. I could, whatever. That's all the skill set. The mindset, you can't teach somebody how to think. That has to come from within. You got to teach yourself how to think. So nobody's going to do it for you. You got to do it for yourself. And for some people that never comes,
Yeah.
They die the day they were born, just because they're just walking around with no purpose in life.
Yeah.
So
what do you call that mindset? Because I know Peter used he talked about reprogramming, right? I call it the fire, to find the fire in you. What do you when you explain that to your kids or to other people, what do you call it, or what do you refer to it as?
I think, to me, the mindset is like a thermostat, right? So the thermostat is, in the room, we all have a thermostat, right? And it's set at a certain temperature. Unless you change that manually, you go in there and you change it, then the temperature is going to change, right? So we cannot be emotional roller coasters. We got to be very good at having not IQ, but EQ, right? Emotional intelligence. And so to me, I look at it that way, is I maintain myself at a certain temperature. I maintain myself at a certain frequency, and I don't allow anything around me to mess with it. Not even my wife. And she knows it.
Yeah.
She knows it more than anybody, because she spends most of the time with me.
Yeah.
So that, to me, is mindset, right? Is looking at it as a thermostat. And unless you or someone around you, which you allow to do it, messes with it, it will always stay the same.
Yeah.
So to me, that's mindset, bomb-proof.
Yeah, it's important to be able to get to where you're at, or just like you said, just for the average person, if you want to change the situation you're in, your mindset is going to be important. It's going to be where you're at, because the first thing you have to change is to make your mind up, right? To make your mind up that you want something different out of life, that you want something different out of your situation. And then you start to make a plan to start how you're going to put that together, right? But if it doesn't start here, if it doesn't start here, if you're looking, I'm going to get a boyfriend because a boyfriend's going to make me feel better. I'm going to buy a car because the car is going to make me feel like, you're never going to find it there, right?
Right. That's true. That's very true.
So how do you juggle all this stuff? I know you're a dad. I know few times that we've talked, you're like, I'm going to go pick up my kids and I'm going to take them to work with me. And how do you juggle all that, man? Because I know it's been tough for me, and luckily in my situation, my fiance now basically runs the house and helps me keep everything together, and I handle everything with the business, right? But I know in your situation, both of you guys work, so it's a little bit more difficult because you guys are both supporting each other in your careers. Right. How do you manage all that stuff, and how do you stay sane, man? Because it's a difficult thing for parents. I think a lot of people looking at this, if they're parents, I think need to hear that you can still go after your dreams and be a parent, right?
Yeah.
And be a responsible parent.
For sure.
So how do you juggle all that?
I have a great support system, for sure. I am lucky, and I'm fortunate enough now that we've been building this for quite some time now, and we've also focused on investing in ourselves personally. Her too, my wife. She's unemployed now. Mm-hmm. She left her job.
Oh wow.
Which I didn't push her to do it. She decided on her own, but for the same reason.
Yeah.
She figured out she's unemployable. She's trying to pursue other things. Something that we're very excited about. She's gonna go on the journey on trying to create her own clothing brand. Mm-hmm. So and she comes from an entrepreneur family too. So I think she lived it growing up, and she is definitely my rock. Now she same takes care of the house. I don't have to juggle with the kids anymore. But even when I did, okay, I'll take you back to that. Even when I did, I still have to take that back to mindset, right?
Yeah.
I understood that no matter what, my kids still need me. You know, I'm gonna be there for them, and I'm still gonna figure out a way to get things done. So I had to basically reprogram, and that it was 3 months.
Yeah.
It was 3 months that she was working, so I was juggling the kids. I had to reprogram. I had to pivot. I had to adjust my routine, and I think that's the beauty of the human being.
Yeah.
In general, is that human beings are creatures that are able to adapt.
Yeah.
Right. So that's something that I understand, and that has allowed me to not only adapt in my family life as a husband, as a father, but also in business. You know, so that's you just gotta find the time, right? We can't if all you can think about is I can't wait to get home so that I can go to bed.
Yeah.
you might have a problem, and I'm not knocking on it. I mean, everybody operates a certain way, but not me, you know. So anytime I'm presented with a problem in life as a father, I just find a way to do it. I spend 5% of the problem on the problem and 95% on trying to fix it instead of the other way around, right? Where it's 95% on the problem and I can't figure out how to fix it, and 5% on trying to find the solution that will never come, right? Because I'm not spending too much time on trying to figure it out. So that's what I can say is if you're faced with everyday struggles of being a father, then if you look at it as a struggle, it will be a struggle.
Yeah.
If you look at it as just life, which we all experience life, then and you focus more on the solution, it will come. You know, it came to me. I figured out a routine that worked for me for 3 months. It didn't stop me at all, which was wake up a little earlier, get the kids ready, take them to school. I still found time to work out. I still found time to run the business. And I just never used it as an excuse because that's very easy to do.
Yeah.
People, any small piece of adversity that they face, immediately the easiest thing to do is say, I'm going to throw my hands up.
Yeah.
I can't do this.
No, I think going through those adversities and diving into it to find some interest, because I think, you know, if you're interested, you'll do it, right? That's really the key, is to find interest even in the most tedious things that we have to go through in life. You have to invest yourself and be very interested in what you're doing.
Right.
That's how you're going to grow, man. And I think, like you said, fully embracing it. I'm in for this. There's no need to complain. Let's just find a solution. Let's come up with a routine, you know, and push forward through it, you know?
Yeah, because, you know, especially, you know, after all I've been through in life, and then knowing what it is to really be involved in entrepreneurship and build a business. And even though it's hard, you know, because it you know, you face those situations every day. I also know how grass looks on the other side.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go back to that. So it doesn't matter how hard it gets for me on this side. I know that I still don't want to go over here. Right?
Yeah.
So that's just another way of me looking at it, and it helps me pivot and adjust every time I have to, because shit, I don't know how many times I've had to pivot now after this long of being in business. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's just it's highly important to always pay attention to and be aware. You know, always be aware. Understand that, you know, struggles will come. Would it have been easier to start a business when you were younger and no family, no kids? Sure. You know, I'm not gonna say no, but you're still I'm still young enough to where I've worked on maintaining myself, my health and my sanity, and it gives me the energy to still get through the day and be a father, be a husband, and be an entrepreneur. You know, so don't get discouraged. You know, if you're a father or even a mother, and you have kids and you're juggling with school, their homework, making food, laundry.
It's not going to last forever, man.
It's not.
You know, there's always a brighter day, right? And one day you'll probably miss it when it's all gone, you know?
Yeah.
So embrace it, right? Embrace it, make the most of it. When I start to feel like that, what I try to do is to reinforce myself, is think to myself, if this was my last day, would this be the way and the attitude that I would have? You know, and it quickly changes my perception, and I just wake up, man, and I'm back in it, and I'm back with enthusiasm, and try to keep moving forward, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's important. On the NGI side, as you guys are doing, because I'm always interested in, I like to talk a lot about what we need to do to push the city forward, right? So why do you feel that a lot of people say that El Paso is behind the curve? When people say, oh, we're behind Austin, we're behind, why do people say that? Why is that the case?
I think because it sounds cool. I don't think that's true. I don't think we're behind the curve. I think a lot of people repeat what they hear, and if it sounds cool, they'll say it. But us that we're in the construction world, I don't think that's true. I mean, I can speak for the brick and mortar business, which is where we spend a lot of time in. I mean, there's from a technology standpoint, there's so much technology being introduced to the brick and mortar business. Infrastructure wise, I think, sure, people complain about construction, but that's the only way we're gonna get to be, Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, have the highways or the ways of transportation that those cities have. We have great talent here too. I think it's just that it's not exposed enough, or people don't ask. We don't network enough to meet the people that have the talent. But I've been fortunate enough to meet, just the gentleman here in the room. Great talent here in the marketing world, in the technology world, in social media, all those platforms. There's great talent here. There's great talent in the construction world, and in business too. So I think it's just a lot of what we hear and is being said. It's just because it sounds cool. They heard it somewhere else, and now they say we're behind the curve. Could we do better? Sure, I think we could all do better. Personally, in business, as a society, citywide, sure, we could do better. But I don't feel like we're that far behind. Well, I don't know. What do you think? You think we're behind the curve?
When it comes to technology, because I look at it from our standpoint, yeah. I mean, obviously, when you look at it and you say, why don't we have any schools here in El Paso when it comes to digital marketing, or when it comes to IT or motion graphics or things like this that are starting to become more a part of our life? In that sense, I feel like we're behind when it comes to technology, and what I feel and what I've seen, because I've sat through meetings, I've talked to downtown El Paso, I've talked to different places. I just do feel like when it comes to technology, that we do need more infrastructure in that case, but not physical infrastructure, but more physical infrastructure as well, because we need facilities, but have the capabilities to be able to do more of it. When it comes to the digital marketing world, a lot of businesses need this stuff. It's the way that we get the word out today. It's instead of us depending on somebody else to get the word out for us, we're taking it into our own hands, right? And so that's why, in that case, I do feel, and I'm always a huge proponent of growth.
And I think it's also a lack of information. Now that you put it that way, sure. I mean, use me as an example. When I came to you guys, how did I find you guys? Sure, I'm that self-driven guy who's gonna go on Google or go somewhere, talk to somebody. Hey, I want a marketing company that knows what they're doing, understands. I didn't know what SEO meant. You took me through SEO, you took me through all the platforms and showed me all that. But because I'm willing to ask the questions, it's a lack of information. So, looking at it from that angle, sure, we are behind the curve because just think about school. When we were growing up in school, we were so afraid to ask a damn question. Raise our hand and ask a question because we were afraid of what the students around us or the teacher was going to think. You know, so same goes for this industry of technology in general. Is we're afraid to ask. We don't look for the information. And
I think that's what's helping drive you guys forward too. That you're willing to ask. You're willing to do the research. On one of your truck talks, you talked about how software changed the way you guys were bidding,
Right.
and how technology helped you do a lot of the heavy lifting instead of doing it on paper. Which I'm sure that we still have people today still doing things that way. It will get to a certain point where you're going to surpass that person because your capabilities are far more. Today, as humans, we're more productive because of technology.
Correct.
We're able to do more. If you look at your phone and you look at how much you're spending on, which we did that experiment here in our office, and who won that contest?
Spending on the phone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've ever looked at your product, like how long you're spending on your phone.
I think
on your
I saw
iPhone.
it just on Instagram.
Really?
That's the only one. But are you able to look at the
Your
whole thing?
The whole thing.
I
how long
haven't.
you're on
Like
your phone.
screen time, you mean?
Yeah.
I've never. I think it comes out every Sunday. It sends you the
Yeah.
notification, but I never paid
Yeah.
attention to it.
Yeah,
But
so
I
if you
noticed
look
that.
at it, you'll be surprised to know that today we're spending 8+ hours on our devices, whereas 5 years ago, 10 years ago, that was about 2 hours, 3 hours. I would sit through presentations and tell people, we're spending 2 to 3 hours. This is a long time, right? That's more than watching your TV, right? But today you're spending more than half of your day on these devices, right? This is our life. And as you have things come into play, like with Elon Musk buying Twitter and starting to go towards a super app,
Right.
we're going to spend even more time. We're going to live in these platforms, and so it's important because it's the way that that we're going to be able to stay to be able to compete with larger corporations, with companies, where we protect ourselves from other big, large corporations coming in and eating up our business, which we're seeing right now happening, right?
Yeah.
What's happening in the investment world in El Paso? A lot of investors are coming in because they heard it's cheap, come in, buy up all the property, and then we're the ones that are living here that our prices are being are going up because of this.
Yeah.
And or you have large corporations that come in, and it's the case like in the insurance world. There was a lot of insurance companies here locally that did business forever, that they sold insurance, they managed the insurance and stuff like that are getting eaten up by these big old names like Allstate and State Farm because they cannot keep up with them online.
Yeah.
Right? And because they're the number one thing that people see when they go in. There's been certain industries that, we protected that. From the roofing industry is one big one. There's cities that there's major companies that come in and take over, and they're national. They don't have an office there locally. They just come in and run ads, and they bring their teams in, right?
Yeah.
I think this is a big thing in your world, right? You have a lot of out-of-town companies coming in and eating up a lot of the work that we have here. And so that's where I feel like in technology, that infrastructure is important. That's why I'm passionate about it. That's why we're doing the school, which we haven't announced on this podcast, but now you heard it. Like, we are creating a school to be able to educate people when it comes to technology. It's my passion. It's why I exist. Are there some bad things with technology? Absolutely, but there always is, right?
Right.
I'm sure that I was listening to reading one of my books that I was reading, and it's called Leaders, right? And they were talking about the innovation of cures for sicknesses or illnesses such as like syphilis and stuff like this, where people were injecting people with other sicknesses to try to see, because they noticed that with fever, the syphilis would be killed, right? So imagine how people were adopting that when all these people were dropping dead when this guy was injecting all these people, right? And so, but you had to go through that. But in the long run, we cured it. But it was through that idea that cured it, right? And so there's a lot of things happening like that where technology is helping, where at first we say as parents, right? Well, we don't like it because our kids are on it all the time, right? But kids are changing. We've changed. We were weird to our parents, you know?
And there's two interesting things that you just touched on. The first one, when we talk about technology, I understood this. Let's go back a century. The most wealthy men were made through crude oil, right? And think about the struggles they had to go through.
It was the most expensive commodity for a long time, right?
Negotiations, haggling the damn farmers,
Yeah.
putting in all the infrastructure, you name it. But now look at today. The top 5 most successful companies are tech companies.
Yeah.
You know? So technology is really shifting the
Yeah.
way. Now, what is crude oil nowadays for technology? It's attention.
Yep.
Right? That is the new real estate.
Absolutely.
It's attention. And the crazy and the scary part about it is that literally anybody can log into their phone one day, and because they go viral, they will steal the attention like nothing. Boom. I already took 100,000 followers like nothing. You know, nothing compared to what these, wealthy oil farmers had to do. It's now so easy to just log onto your phone and do that, right? And then 2, when we talk about our kids, I think it was it Kylie Jenner at 20 years old became a billionaire over social platforms, and like her, there's many others. You know? So I think for our kids, we need to embrace it. We just need to find a way to do it, right? We don't have to shut them down, or continue to tell them that it's bad to spend some. It's here. We have to accept it, and we have to embrace it, and we have to understand that for the next century, this is what's going to rule the world, and our kids are going to be right in the middle of it.
One of your truck talks that you mentioned that people complain that they can't hire people, right? People are lazy these days. They don't want to work. And I know Gary Vaynerchuk said this. You said this in your truck talk. It's like, no, it's pointing that finger back at yourself, man. There's people that want to work. They don't want to work for you or your company.
No.
And the thing that has changed now is that people have options now. For you and I, we had to walk in and apply and sit there and wait till they looked at our application and say, thank you, sir. And you spent half a day doing one thing. Today, those people can send out 100 applications in that half a day, right? Our parents, what would they say when they leave to work? Go find a job, right?
Get a
Go
good
get a
education,
job
and get a good job.
Right, exactly. And this is the stigma, and these are the things that I'm trying to think outside of the box. I've always been like that, Alejandro. I've always challenged and asked questions, and I thank my older brother because he's like that a lot. He didn't just go along with what everybody was doing. He wanted to do his own thing. And he pushed that and he inspired that in me. And I ask a lot of questions, right? And so when you and I went through this whole journey, it was like, go to college, then you get a job, then right? It was already mapped out for us. And it was almost like it was rigged, right? As I look back on it, that's how I feel, especially when you have all these student loans and you got all this shit you got to pay. It was really frustrating. And we had to commit. It's like, make a decision now. And this decision, this is what you're doing for the rest of your life, buddy.
Right.
Whereas these guys today, they can reinvent themselves 20, 30 times, right? This is how you're going to find yourself and what sets your soul on fire. Like you said, I couldn't figure out what that was that wasn't getting me excited, right?
Right.
And you say, one day I found it, and it was me having my freedom for me to run the boat and to steer the boat. That excited me. You're an entrepreneur. You're born to invent, to innovate, now it piques your interest. Right. You're getting up at 4:00 in the morning, where regularly you'd probably struggle to get up in the morning because you weren't happy, right? Or you had somebody at your ear saying, "No, you're not going to do it. You're not going to do that." So I think all of us need to have the ability to experiment. That's why I've always told my nephews, I've told my sons, my kids, go intern, go volunteer. Don't even ask for a paycheck, man. Just go volunteer. Go dip into that work for a month, 2 months, 6 months, a year of your life, and go to see if this is something you like. And when you're there, ask them, what's your life like? Because people like to think, oh, well, what's my career going to be like and what's my family going to be like? But in every example that we've talked about, your career and your work is one. And people like to separate those things like, well, during the day, I'm a businessman. At night, I'm a disco freak, or whatever. No. You're one, right? One washes the other hand, right? And so that's important. I think that you also, when you try to look for a job, that you go intern to not only see what the job's about, but what's that personal life like? You want to be a police officer. Well, do you understand that their shifts change every 3 months? And maybe, you worked for the railroad. I was at one point trying to get into the railroad. You know that if they call you, you got to go, man. You can be in the middle of your daughter's party and you got to go.
And I think that's what really, really drove me away from the industry.
Yeah.
I think that's a very important topic to discuss because for me, for example, I came in very early to that industry at 20 years old, very excited, gonna make a lot of money.
Yeah.
I thought, I'm set.
Because I wanted to work for the railroad, man. I knew you guys were making all the good money.
They were making dough, and I was making dough at a very young age. But I was smart enough to start looking at everybody around me.
Yeah.
High divorce rate.
Yeah.
Obesity.
Yeah.
Sleep apnea. Guys in their 40s look like they're in their 60s. They were worn out, man. They were running you to the ground. And on top of that, the culture was just one you don't want to be around.
Yeah.
So I was like, I can count with one hand why I want to stay here.
Yeah.
And it was probably two reasons, you know?
And one of them was money.
One of them was money, which you can go make anywhere.
Yeah.
Right? But I don't have enough hands and toes, fingers and toes to count why I wanted to leave.
Yeah.
So it is very important. And that's why with my kids, for example, I've always told them, I'm not going to tell you can do anything in life because that's a fallacy.
Yeah.
You cannot. You can't, be a superhero.
Yeah.
But what I can tell you is I'm going to help you find your passion. If your passion is being an artist, if your passion is being a musician, if you want to go get a 9-to-5, but if it's really your passion, then that's what we're going to work on.
Yeah.
So and the only way you can find out is through experience, trying out. And that's what I do with my kids.
That's why I'm telling you guys, listen to this part. Go volunteer your time. If you don't know what you want to do in your life, go start doing something, man. Go volunteer. Go talk to the people. Call them. Say, I just want to intern. That's all I want to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you also don't want to. You also don't want to go and start asking just a random person.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Because that's another mistake a lot of people make is, well, I'm not going to volunteer.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to call the guy. He might like the shit out of you. He might you have to go do it.
Yeah.
You have to be in the moment. You have to, experiment.
Us as owners, how many times are you going to turn down somebody that calls you and says, excuse me, sir, I'd love to learn the ins and outs about construction, and I want to see if you take me in. I'm not asking for no pay. I just want to be there to help. I can offer an extra hand. You're probably going to say, you know what, sure, kid, show up.
Any day.
Right?
Yeah, any day of the week.
So now things are different, man. We have the ability to do things, and this is why I feel like we can build great companies.
For sure.
So we know the things that we hate, right?
Yep.
And you try not to do them in your own company, right?
Yep.
So how do you come up with that kind of stuff? Do you look back? Because I know I reflect, and things that used to eat the shit out of me, like where my bosses would get mad at me, I'm like, here, we're not doing that shit, Like how do you manage that, or do you look back and say, fuck, I'm gonna change that shit in my company?
Yeah, for sure. And I think a lot of it has a direct reflection of how I felt we should have been treated when I was working for another company.
Yeah.
So for sure, I always told myself, like, if I could work for a company that just cuts through the bullshit, it would be a great company.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the way we operate. We cut through all the bullshit, right? But there's certain things. I think culture is everything for us. We try to create a good culture. It definitely is gonna play a huge role in if your company will succeed or not. You know, because if you're working in the business instead of on the business, you're gonna drive yourself crazy. How do you allow yourself to work on the business and be the quarterback is by having good culture. And that's something that I'm huge on that. Yeah. Because I'm all about operations.
We're both in that. I think we're both in that realm, right, where we're trying to scale, right? The big old the S word that us entrepreneurs have to go through, right?
And it's hard.
It's hard, right?
Scaling is very hard because there's only two ways to do it: people and technology. Yeah. Right. Which luckily, when we meet people like you guys that have an edge on technology, it allows us to scale. But then recruiting and finding the right individual, the key player to come.
Creates another problem, right?
It's hard. It definitely is.
Yeah, no, it's great stuff, and I always have people tell me too, like, oh, I can get you leads and stuff, and like, bro, like the work is not the problem. We don't have the lack of work. You know, it's the execution that becomes an issue once you start getting a lot of work.
Yeah.
Why? Because you don't want to dilute. You care about this. This is your baby. This is what you work on, right? So this is important to you, and I think that's what makes you great at what you're doing. I can tell in your passion. I can tell when you and I talk, when we talk about business, I can see that you're engaged in what you want to do, and that's the key. That's the key to making things bigger. You're interested,
right?
And
if you allow me to, like, just going back really quick to culture and managing company and how I became so passionate about that.
Yeah.
It was actually a very good friend of mine that I used to work with when I was in management now for the railroad, and we were driving down Donovan one time, and I had already, he came from Denver, actually from La Junta, Colorado. Mm-hmm. And he had only been here for like 3 months, and he came into the management team, and I was tasked with training him. So we're driving down Donovan, and I'm teaching him the ropes. Yeah, man, you know, these are the things you look for. And then we were passing right through a Whataburger, and he's like, "Are you hungry?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm hungry. You want some Whataburger?" "Yeah, sure, let's go." So we sat down, we started talking, and he like straight up, he asked me, he's like, "Why are you here, man? Like, why do you still work here?" And he didn't know anything about me. I guess somebody had told him, "Yeah, this guy has some shit going on the side." And I'm like, "I don't understand. But like, why are you asking that question?" He's like, "Just like, I feel you have more in you than just this." And he's like, you're a good guy. You're knowledgeable. You have good information. You carry yourself well. Yeah. Like, why are you still here?" And I told him, "Well, because I'm not ready to leave yet. You know, financially, I was just not there. My business wasn't there."
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Well, I'm intrigued as to how you became this person. Like, why are you so interested? Why are you so genuine? Why are you so willing to help? What got you on this journey?" And I said, "My wife. My wife got me on this journey because when I met my wife, Raul, she did not believe in herself. She was very limited. She was self-limited. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know how to help her because I was the same way.
Yeah, as most of us are, right?
Right. I had no knowledge. I mean, and I'm not knocking on my in-laws. You know, they're great people or whatnot, but they come from the era of macho men. You know, I'm a macho man, and if you're a woman, you listen to what I'm telling you.
Yeah.
And it's only my way or the highway, right? So that's where she comes from too. She was suppressed that way. So I submerged myself down that process of development, understanding how, you know, just words can affect an individual.
Yeah.
And I did it for her, really. Because everything that I learned, I pour into her. Mm-hmm. Who I am now, I owe it to her. If I make $100, 99 are for her, 1 is for me because I owe it all to her. Mm-hmm. Because she also taught me how important culture is now within the company, right? So that's just like huge for me, is understanding that a human being will react to anything you have to say, whether it's good or bad.
Absolutely.
Because she taught me that. Because I would ask her, like, why are you so this way? You know?
Yeah.
Because of everything they would tell me.
Have you dipped into reading a lot of books about leadership or stuff like that?
Not necessarily. More podcasts, leadership podcasts.
Yeah.
Yes. More leadership podcasts, but not books.
I know you do a ton of podcasting, right?
A lot.
You think that's important for somebody to?
It is.
Grow for growth.
It is, because like I'm telling
stuff like this, guys, like, right? These kind of conversations help you because they're going to help you feel like, man, I'm not on my own. These guys have the same feelings that I have, right?
Yeah.
But
no, yeah, for sure.
How much of your day or how much time do you spend on podcasting?
I don't listen to music anymore.
Yeah.
And I can't also say that it's been going on for a long time, probably 6 months.
Yeah.
But I have been for at least a good 3 years, 4 years, at least one podcast a day, 1 hour long, and I've stuck to one podcast. I haven't been jumping around from one
That's
to
what I
the
was going to
other.
ask. Do you have like a specific strategy? Like I have my own little things. Like I'm going to be like, okay, for the next 3 months, I'm dipping into just leadership, right?
Yeah.
Do you have like techniques or things like that you do that help you go through this journey?
Yeah, I mean,
Or you just like whatever pokes your interest, you're going and you're choosing those podcasts, or you do it like specific topics, or how do you choose those?
Me, it's anything that's business related. Leadership, for some reason, and I'm not trying to sound cocky, but for some reason, leadership is just something that, in a sense, comes a little natural to me. But I do, we do have to continue to learn. Sure, I'm not saying no, but I learned in the field. That's how I learned leadership, because in management, and I have to give that.
You have a background in management too.
So. And I was having to handle guys that were twice my age. I was 28 at the time. I'm dealing with men who are in their late 50s, and I had to just learn how to get myself around. So leadership kind of, in a sense, that's where I got my teeth kicked in. Is in leadership. And then the company did a very good job of taking us to seminars and training us in that avenue. But I really didn't understand business that well. So that's why I said I'm gonna submerge myself in learning about business. A lot of the terms, about business. I'm reading through a contract, I don't understand what the hell I'm reading.
Yeah.
Or even certain, accounting terms that I didn't understand what a deficit is, what revenue is, what gross profit, net profit, taxes, all that stuff. So I'm like, I need to start educating myself on this stuff. So that's why I said I did choose a topic, which was business. And then now I opened it up to just business in general, stories.
Yeah.
Stories are very powerful.
Absolutely.
Very, very powerful. And so when you listen to someone else tell you, I was on the streets, eating from the damn dumpster, to now I'm the biggest wholesaler in real estate in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah.
It's like, damn.
Are there any podcasts that you would recommend for somebody looking to go into business?
For sure. And the one I listen to is Dropping Bombs with the Real Brad Lee. That guy, they say he's the new Andrew Tate, but he's not as abrupt.
Yep.
But he will tell you how it is. And the people he brings on the podcast, again, is anything from the guy eating from the dumpster to the guy who comes from a privileged family but still wasn't given, that opportunity, or wasn't handed in a gold platter. And still had to fight for, his own success. So
yeah, he's a really straight up dude. Is that the way you prefer to manage is that the way you are with yourself?
I am.
And where does that come from? Is it because I know you say you played sports? For me, like that was my big thing, because my coaches were on my ass, and if we lost, we ran. If one person messed up, we all did push-ups. So
I am like that with myself, especially when I went down this journey of trying to lose some weight. I got very honest with myself. And I would tell myself, like, you're not overweight, you're a fat piece of crap, So I'm very hard on myself.
Some people think it's very harsh, but I talk shit to myself like that all the time too. Like I'm probably the hardest on myself, right?
Right. And that's why I came up with this little routine. And I actually picked up that routine from Ed Milet, which I shared on one of the truck talks, is the wake up routine, right? The 3 steps to waking up is, being thankful for the small things, recognize a win from the previous day, and then setting up a win for the day. And I think the second one is probably the most important one for me, because as entrepreneurs, like I was saying, we kick our own ass every day. We constantly I look at myself in the mirror and I'm always looking at something that could look better, I could have done that better. No, you have to also, hey man, like, don't always kick your own ass.
Celebrate your wins.
Every once in a while you have to celebrate.
Yeah.
So that's why, because I was very harsh on myself. And the one who told me was my wife. She's like, hey, you need to recognize every once in a while, don't be so hard on yourself all the damn time. Because the other thing I understood, and I thought was my kids are everything to me. right? Everything I do, the reason I wake up in the morning is my family, my kids. So I understood that as I was doing all this to myself, some of it was out loud.
Yeah.
So your kids, they don't listen to what you say.
Yep.
Your kids listen with their eyes.
Yep.
Whatever they see. If they see me talking shit to myself, that's exactly what they're going to do. They don't understand why I'm doing it. All they know is he's doing it. So I had to really start rewiring a lot of that stuff because of them too. It's because I know they're looking at me. My son is trying to learn how to be a man through me. My daughter is trying to learn how to choose a man through me, right?
Yeah.
So I had to start rewiring a lot of that stuff and not be so damn hard on myself. But you do need a little bit of it. My best coaches in sports were assholes.
Yeah.
You know, they told you shit how it was.
Yeah.
But they brought the best out of you. You know, they knew you could do better. That's why they were like that.
Yeah.
And now that I reflect, I'm like, man, those were the best men
Yeah.
and coaches I could have ever been around. And now I actually ran into my baseball coach not too long ago. He was a total douchebag, man. On the field, he was a total douchebag. But I couldn't be more happier to see him.
Yeah.
And he was even, his wife almost cried, man. Like when they saw me, because they know where I come from. You know, single mother. My senior year, my mom had no money to buy me cleats. They bought me cleats. They bought me a brand new glove.
Shit.
I mean, they looked at me as a son. You know.
Yeah.
So when they saw me, they got a little emotional, and I did too. You know, but I think that's where it comes from too, is sports. You're very competitive. They always teach you to be, full force, 100% pushing forward.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely, I catch myself every once in a while.
Yeah, that's the one thing I figure out, like, how can I bring that into my kids? Because I think that was a good foundation was built on sports. But today, a lot of the sports are through computer games and stuff like that. So like that team commodity, how do you work together with a team, work well with a team and stuff like that. But it's all good stuff, man, for sure.
Yeah.
How I know we're coming up on a little bit over an hour and a half now, but tell me a little bit about Truck Talk. What is it about? Why are you choosing to do it? Because people don't have to do this. We don't have to do this, right? We choose to do it because we're trying to help. We're trying to create positivity like we're talking about. But why are you doing Truck Talk? Like, what is Truck Talk all about?
So a few things. And I think there's 3 major points to Truck Talk. The first one really is for me. I heard one time that human beings need a mental burp. Like when we burp after having a good meal, it's relaxing, right? Same goes for your brain. It needs a mental burp. And that's what it's done for me. Talking to the camera when I'm in my truck, that's my moment of peace. That's where I get to think. That's where I get to innovate, where I find solutions to problems. So I'm able to decompress through doing Truck Talk.
Yeah.
So mental burp, 1.
For sure. We just said that about too. The podcast, when we do this, guys, this is our time to get away from the hard grind that we go through every single day. And though you see this and you see these podcasts, you see Truck Talk, you may think these guys just sit around shooting videos all day doing this stuff, right? But we do really work really hard, and this time is to decompress. So I really feel you on that.
For sure. And then 2 is, and Bradley talks about this, and I think it's true, is to try to get information from the people who have it to the people who need it, right? Information is key.
Yeah.
So whether you're trying to make more money, whether you're trying to become a better person, a better father, you're struggling in marriage, life in general, information is key. It can be life-changing. So mental burp, getting information from the people who have it to the people who need it. And then understanding that the last one, I think it's the most important one, because I remember I only know a few millionaires. I don't know many. But he asked me one time, one of the friends that I have, he said, "What do you think is your biggest asset?" Or I'm sorry, liability. what do you think is your biggest liability? And I said, my house, my car, maybe my kids, I don't know. He said, let me tell you something. He said, your biggest liability is lack of information. It's because when you don't know something and you make a decision based on lack of information, it will cost you so much money in business.
Yeah.
That right there was like, okay, I know I have a bigger purpose in life than just making money.
Yeah.
It's getting information out there to people. Your story, how much money did you pay in taxes? If somebody would have given you the information, I guarantee you wouldn't have paid that much money.
Yeah.
So that becomes your biggest liability. It's
Yeah.
lack of information. So that's where Truck Talk started for me, is those three things right there, is giving me a mental burp, giving information to people, and understanding that that is the biggest liability for anybody sitting in this room, is lack of information, is not knowing something.
Yeah.
And then making a decision based on an emotion instead of knowledge.
Yeah. And then there's other things that come along with it, right? The branding value, the fact that people see you as an expert and they get to hear you out on that, you know, your stuff in the industry, right? There's other positives that come
Correct.
out of it, right?
Correct.
But no, I think it's really good. And both Devin and I talk about it all the time. Like, this is some good shit, man. Like, you got some good stuff that you're talking about. And even if you're just already inspiring just the people that are editing it,
Right.
you know, you already have been successful. Like, if we've touched one person, right?
One person.
We've already been successful. So I can tell you that that's already had an impact on us. And we're cheering you on for it too, man, because I think it's great content as we continue to grow. I think it's something unique that nobody in our area has done in the contractor world. It's very just work, right? You don't take the time to share that feedback, that information back to other people,
Yeah.
to empower them. You're opening up the conversation. You're like, this is how I do it. But if you have a way to do it, share it down there, man, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's big in that sense, and I'm excited about it for it. So again, if you guys didn't catch the name, it's called Truck Talks. You can catch it on the NGI social media platform, Next Generation Imaging platform. You can follow Alejandro there on NGI. He's very active. The gas stations, In and Out Gas, you can check that out, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and just wrap it up. Alejandro, it was a great conversation, man. I'd love to have you back. I'm excited to see where your journey is going.
Let's do it.
With everything that you're doing, man. I'm like, I have no doubt in my mind that you're going to be doing multiple more businesses and possibly even, you know, just growing the things that you are. I know we didn't get the chance to talk about the gym and some of the other stuff that you're already working on, man.
Yes.
So I would love to have you back on another future episode so we can talk about some of those things. But I think today what we covered was really good stuff, because people need to hear the truth of the struggles that people have to do. So that's really why I focus on that the most, is for people to share their story. I think it gives us a chance to reflect, and one day we'll look back at this and we'll be smiling at the point we were at, because we're still climbing the mountain, right?
We're still climbing.
But I thank you for doing that, man. I thank you for also helping and supporting anything that, you know, every that I brought to you, and I've said, hey, we've got this tournament going on for kids and we're doing that. Alejandro has always been great. He believes in the community. He helps out. So it's not just the hard work, guys, or the stuff that he shares on Truck Talks. He's actually in the community. He's giving back to his high school. He's doing things like this. And I think this is what we need more of in our community. We're becoming those coaches that you said that really had an impact in our lives and stuff. So thanks for coming by, man. Anything else that you'd like to share, or before we close out?
No, same here, Raul. I mean, but it's been quite a journey since I met you. You're looking for the best, the best in the industry of digital marketing and SEO. And don't look further. You know, I mean, you guys have done a great job with us. You've not only, you know, opened our eyes to what digital marketing can do, and SEO, building our pages, but you're also a great person. So I think being able to collaborate with, high intellectual individuals definitely marks the difference. You understand business too. So we're not just coming to a place where you're going to pitch me on spending X amount of dollars on ads and creating funnels and, putting dollars behind SEO, but you're also a great person. You're a great entrepreneur. You have a great team. I mean, they're by far the best that I've seen here in El Paso. So I want to thank you for that too.
Yeah, thanks, bro.
I know there's many people that have came to you that are trying to, contract your services.
Yeah.
But now you're at a point where you're able to pick and choose, and the fact that you chose us is an honor. Because working with your team has been nothing but greatness.
Yeah.
And all this also, my drive continues because I know I can pick up the phone, call you, and you're also in that mode. You're also in that frequency. So that will mark the difference for sure.
Yeah.
And just to close out again, it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to have been invited to come and sit with you and talk. And I hope that this conversation, like you said, if it can at least touch one person,
Yeah.
that's all that matters.
Yeah.
That's all that matters. So.
And we're slowly building it, man. And if you haven't done yet, subscribe to the channel for these future videos. We got a lot of really good content, a lot of really good entrepreneurs that are from this area, that look like you, that live here in your community, that are making an impact. That's why we're doing this. We could be doing this podcast, man, and trying to reach the whole world, but we're starting here in our community. We're trying to make an impact, and hopefully, soon we'll also be reaching other areas. So that's the overall goal, but we know we have to start humble, just like we started our businesses. So we're doing that. And though myself, I've started to work out, Alejandro, he's working out of town too. We're all branching out into other areas and bringing some attention back to the city. You guys can see that this is something that will help you in your journey. Whether you're trying to run a business or you're just trying to better yourself, man, and become a better person, better father, better at your job, whatever you do, man, these talks are going to be really good for you. And as you can see from both Alejandro and I, we were both bred from strong women, man. So this also includes women out there. For you girls to do this, take these podcasts, take this information as well, use it as inspiration, and grow. So Alejandro, thanks again for joining us, man. I think this actually broke the record for the longest podcast we've done.
1 hour and 52 minutes.
Yeah, so
that was a good conversation, man. That was good.
Yeah,
that was good.
So again, here we're gonna wrap up. Thanks again for another episode of Monster Talks. Like I said, subscribe, follow Alejandro. NGI, Next Generation Imaging, is the name of the company. Contractors. Check them out on the web, check them out on social media, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace, and thanks again, guys. Talk to you guys soon.